told myself this time around, I'm a really control the way I move. You know what I'm saying? Control my anger, control my temper.
Everybody might not be loyal to their block, but for the most part, if you from that block, you loyal to that block.
Like once you take your pride away, you start living your life.
That quote hits way different now, especially with new footage blowing up online showing New Jersey goons allegedly setting up Fetty Wap in a robbery. This clip got everybody talking, and once you hear what really went down, it gets even messier than people first thought. Before we even get deeper into this situation, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, leave a comment, and share this video. It really helps the channel grow and keeps content like this coming. The footage got the whole internet going wild. Willie Jr., Maxwell II, born June 7th, 1991, in Patterson, New Jersey, came into the world already facing something most people never have to deal with. He was born with congenital glaucoma in both eyes. Doctors managed to save his right eye, but his left had to be removed completely and replaced with a prosthetic. Now imagine growing up in Patterson, a place known for testing people daily, while standing out like that. It was never easy. If you looked even slightly different, people noticed, and not always in a good way. Fetty spoke on that himself. And Fetty kept it real about how that environment shaped him from day one. That's a man telling you straight up, the same city he always repped with pride is the same place that forced him to toughen up fast.
How was it growing up with one eye? Because, I mean, kids are brutal. The snaps and teasing was crazy.
I mean, I'm from Patterson, so like I learned how to fight early.
It's that constant push and pull, loving where you're from, but knowing those same streets can switch up on you at any moment. That right there is the thread connecting everything we're about to break down. He went to Eastside High School, but ended up dipping out early to go all in on music. No backup plan, just straight grind. Around 2013, he caught that spark and jumped in the booth almost instantly. And get this, Trap Queen was only like the second or third track he ever recorded. He even spoke on how that whole wave came together, piece by piece. Then he broke down the exact moment that signature sound just hit him out of nowhere. Like everything suddenly clicked. That studio moment changed everything. Trap Queen went from a random SoundCloud drop to a massive #2 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 by May 2015, holding strong in the top 10 for 25 straight weeks and eventually going diamond with the RIAA. Crazy run. Then he kept the pressure on. Tracks like 679 and My Way took off too, with Drake jumping on My Way after catching the vibe, and both tracks cracked the top 10. His self-titled debut album dropped September 25th, 2015, and landed straight at #1 on the Billboard 200. Just like that, the same guy from the streets of Patterson who used to move mixtapes hand to hand turned into one of the biggest names in rap almost overnight. But even with all that money coming in, even with the private jets, luxury cars, and sold-out shows stacking up, the streets of Patterson never changed. They stayed exactly how they always were. And the people closest to Fetty knew that better than anyone. He even spoke on how some of his own friends from the block told him straight up to fall back just to stay alive.
Now is it true your boys in Patterson, when Trap Queen blew up, they told you, stay out the hood because we want you to make it?
I don't really know how to put it. Like, it's just crazy. You feel me? Like, you could just, 1 minute, you outside, next minute.
Now, Fetty confirmed that was all real and explained just how intense things were getting for him back home. 1 minute you're outside chilling, everything feels normal. Next minute, the whole energy flips and something's not right. That's Patterson. That's the reality of the place that shaped Fetty Wap, not just as an artist, but as a man. And in March 2017, that reality caught up to him in the worst way possible. The night everything went wrong, it was early Sunday morning, March 26th, around 5 a.m. Fetty Wap and his crew were doing what they had done plenty of times before, moving like it was just another regular night. Not knowing things were about to take a serious turn, they were just sliding through to grab something to eat at Unclear Deli on Montclair Avenue near Paxton Street in Patterson. This was a 24-hour spot Fetty had been hitting for years with no problems at all. It was supposed to be a simple late-night food run. Grab your food and head back home, nothing serious. But that night, everything changed fast. Another group walked into that same deli right behind Fetty and his crew, and within minutes, the whole situation went completely left. This wasn't some random argument that popped up out of nowhere either. It was tied to an ongoing situation between Fetty and a local hip-hop promoter named Raheem Thomas, also known as Fuzz. The tension between them had been building for a while, tied to music business issues and behind-the-scenes politics in the local rap scene. And then things escalated quickly. What happened next was all caught on surveillance cameras, footage that TMZ later got and blasted out for everyone to see. That clip spread everywhere and turned into one of the most talked about street moments connected to hip-hop, with people replaying it over and over trying to catch every detail of how it all went down. Fetty is briefly seen in the middle of the chaos, while Raheem Thomas stands out in a red jacket and white shirt, looking like he's holding what appears to be a weapon. The second that situation turns serious, the whole deli erupts into panic. People start running, trying to get out of there fast. And what got taken from Fetty that night wasn't just regular jewelry. It meant something way deeper. His signature 1738 chain was snatched, along with other pieces in cash, reportedly adding up to over $450,000 in value. That chain wasn't just for style, it represented his crew, his come-up, and the same 1738 that turned into a global anthem from Trap Queen. That piece stood for everything: identity, loyalty, and proof that he made it out of tough conditions while putting his people on. And in one tense moment inside that deli, all of that was gone just like that. But it didn't stop there, not even close. What happened inside quickly spilled out into the street, and that's when things escalated to a whole different level. A full-on shootout broke out, turning the situation even more serious. By the end of it, 3 men were hospitalized with gunshot injuries. One hit in the leg, another in the torso, and a third who made his own way to Hackensack University Medical Center. What started as a quick food run turned into a night nobody there would forget. Cops showed up after getting calls about shots fired around 5 in the morning. Despite all the chaos, Fetty himself walked away untouched and wasn't labeled a suspect. Early reports didn't point at his crew either, at least not officially. Now later on, there were whispers suggesting that shots from Fetty's side might have been the ones that actually hit, but nothing ever stuck. Official statements made it clear neither Fetty nor anyone with him ended up facing charges tied to the shooting or the robbery. And this is where things take a sharp turn, because it only really makes sense if you understand the code Fetty Wap has always stood on. Reports say he refused to file a police report and didn't cooperate with investigators at all, choosing to let the streets handle it instead of bringing law enforcement into it. In the days after everything went down, he didn't hide, didn't move scared, and didn't play victim. Instead, Fetty popped out wearing brand new heavy chains and showing off stacks of cash, sending a loud message without even saying a word, basically saying, "You can take what's on me, but you can't take what's in me." Meanwhile,
I never planned on being no singer, you know what I'm saying? Like, I went in the studio one day, and I was like, shit, my Trap Queen, let her hit the bell. I was like, I don't like how that sound, bro. And I was like, run it back. 1738, and it just was coming out.
the man allegedly behind setting everything up made a move that had people questioning everything. One of the wildest mistakes you could make after a situation like that. In a wild turn of events, Raheem Thomas got picked up just days later, and the reason had people shaking their heads. He really went on Instagram and posted a picture of himself showing off Fetty's stolen 1738 chain while wearing the exact same red outfit seen in the deli footage. Just think about that for a second. You're involved in a situation with one of the most well-known rappers out. It's all caught on camera. And then you jump online smiling, wearing the same clothes, and flashing the stolen chain like nothing happened. That's not some mastermind move. That's someone practically asking to get caught. Authorities didn't waste time. Thomas was first hit with charges like aggravated assault and weapons offenses, but it didn't stop there. Prosecutors added even more, including first-degree armed robbery, receiving stolen property, and multiple gun-related charges, including possession of a handgun loaded with hollow-point rounds. His brother ended up getting caught up too, facing charges for allegedly grabbing a backpack full of cash during the incident. Another Patterson local, Sylvester Huffin, was also charged, facing 2 counts of attempted murder along with weapons violations connected to the shooting that followed. The case didn't wrap up quickly either. It dragged on for about 2 years. Eventually, in 2019, Raheem Thomas and his brother took plea deals to reduce their charges, bringing one chapter of this whole situation to a close. But the story itself still has people talking. Right when jury selection was about to start, everything wrapped up fast. Raheem Thomas ended up getting a 5-year sentence tied to theft and a felony gun restriction charge. His brother also did time, and Sylvester Huffin reportedly received a 9-year sentence for his role in what happened. And through every court date, every hearing, all of it, Fetty Wap never took the stand, never cooperated, and never went against the code he grew up with in Patterson. But that 2017 robbery, that was only one chapter in a much heavier story. Life kept hitting him with situations that went way beyond anything street experience could prepare you for. In June 2021, Fetty faced a heartbreaking loss. His 4-year-old daughter, Lauren Maxwell, passed away due to serious health complications. Not long before that, he also lost his younger brother around late 2020. Back-to-back losses like that would shake anyone. And then came another major turn. In 2021, Fetty was arrested at Rolling Loud Festival on federal drug-related charges. Authorities accused him of being connected to a large-scale operation involving multiple illegal substances. The case was serious, and in May 2023, he was sentenced to 6 years in federal prison. He later spoke about what that time was really like, the pressure, the mental toll, and the mindset he was in when everything came crashing down around him. Losing his daughter hit him so hard that when the federal indictment came down, he said he felt completely numb to everything around him, like nothing even registered anymore. When he was asked if he felt like he was just moving through life like a zombie during that dark time, he didn't even pause. He agreed right away. But inside those prison walls, something started to change. He locked in and earned his GED. And more importantly, he started putting real work into his mental health. Not just talking about it, actually doing the kind of inner work most people avoid. And when he got asked what he was really searching for through all that reflection, his answer caught people off guard. He said he was learning how to apologize to himself. Think about that for a second.
It was like a really bad time for me at that time. Yeah, like 4 months prior to that, I had just like lost my daughter. So mentally, I wasn't really like, it was just like whatever, like this doesn't faze me.
This is someone who went from being one of the biggest names in music to getting robbed in his own city, to losing his daughter, to sitting in a federal cell. And the person he felt he owed the biggest apology to was himself. Fetty was released early on January 8th, 2026, moving into community confinement with 5 years of supervised release to follow. And when he came home, people noticed it right away. He looked different, moved different, and spoke with a clear mindset. For the first time in a long time, he opened up about what really changed inside him during that time away. He even spoke about letting go of the ego that had been holding him back for years, something he realized was blocking his growth not just as an artist, but as a person. That's the version of Fetty Wap who came home in January 2026, a man who had been through everything: robbery, loss, prison, and a deep level of self-reflection that changed how he moved completely. This time, he was focused on starting fresh and doing things differently. Then came his new album, Xavier, which dropped on March 27th, 2026. For the first time in a long time, things were finally starting to look up. The future seemed brighter than everything he had left behind.
Have you heard that phrase? Some people say they felt like they were a zombie walking.
Yeah, for sure.
Is that how you felt?
For sure.
What were you seeking answers to?
I wasn't actually seeking answers. I was
Really?
just apologizing to myself.
But just days later, everything shifted again. That surveillance footage from Patterson hit the internet and pulled the conversation right back to the same streets, the same risks, and the same questions that have followed Fetty's story from the very beginning. Same streets, same patterns, just a different day. When that 51-second clip showing a man getting chased at gunpoint on a Patterson block in broad daylight went viral on April 2nd, 2026, it didn't feel like just another video online. It felt like history repeating itself, like 2017 all over again, playing back like a moment nobody ever really escaped. This time, though, the details hit way different, and honestly, even more unsettling than before. You really have to look at the differences to understand why people are reacting like this. Back in 2017, everything went down in the early morning hours, around 5 a.m. in and around a deli. It was a familiar spot, somewhere Fetty and his crew had been going to for years. And that situation wasn't random. It came from tension that had been building with someone they already had issues with. There was history behind it, real problems that led up to that moment. But in 2026, completely different energy. This happened in broad daylight, on a regular residential street. A black SUV suddenly pulls up, and armed individuals jump out and surround the target with no warning at all. There wasn't any known history, no public issues, nothing tying the people involved together beforehand. This didn't feel personal. It felt calculated, like someone saw an opportunity and took it on the spot. That's what made it so alarming. It came off like a planned ambush, where someone spotted a target wearing expensive jewelry in their own neighborhood and made a split-second decision to go after it. And the level of boldness in broad daylight like that, that's what really has people talking. The level of violence couldn't have been more different either. Back in 2017, what started inside that deli turned into a full-on shootout spilling into the streets. Shots were going off, people were getting hit, and 3 men ended up in the hospital. It was complete chaos from start to finish. But in 2026, totally different outcome. Fuzzy Fasu stayed calm under pressure, didn't fight back, and handed everything over without any resistance. No shots fired, no extra chaos. The people involved got what they came for and left just as fast. A lot of people online actually gave him credit for that, saying he handled it the smart way. Because at the end of the day, staying alive matters more than anything else. You can't tell your side of the story if you're gone. But what really has everyone talking isn't just what happened, it's what didn't happen. The spotlight quickly shifted to his crew and how they reacted or didn't react at all. Back in 2017, when Fetty Wap got caught in that situation, his people were right there with him through everything. When things escalated, they were in the middle of it too. Now that response was risky and led to serious consequences, but nobody could ever say his crew left him standing alone when it mattered most. They were right there with him through it all, standing solid no matter how risky things got. That was the reality in 2017. But in 2026, the energy flipped completely. The second things got serious, Fuzzy Fasu's crew took off running. No hesitation, no looking back. They scattered instantly and left him standing there alone, surrounded, with nobody beside him when it mattered most. And that right there is what turned this from just another local incident into a full-blown national conversation. People aren't just talking about what happened. They're questioning loyalty. Who's really solid and who's just around for appearances? It sparked bigger questions too. Are these bonds real or are they just for show? Are people really built to stand 10 toes when pressure hits, or do they fold the second things go left? Fetty Wap understood this kind of reality better than most. He spoke on it years ago, breaking down what growing up in Patterson taught him about loyalty and how things really play out when situations get serious. And then he backed it up with a line that hits even harder now, especially looking at how everything played out with Fuzzy's crew. That right there, that's the code everything is built on. That's the code Fetty built everything on. When he created the 1738 squad, bringing Monty, Fuzzy, and the rest of his circle along for every step of the rise, it wasn't random. It was because he truly believed in that loyalty above everything else. He even addressed it when people questioned why he kept putting his brother Monty on track after track instead of chasing bigger industry names. To him, it wasn't about clout. It was about who stood with him from the start. And then he said something that really shows what drives him at his core. Real loyalty to those who thought it was extinct. That mindset is what he poured into his team from day one, which is why watching this situation unfold hits so different. Seeing someone tied to that circle get stripped of everything while the people around him disappear the moment pressure shows up, it raises real questions. You have to wonder, was that loyalty ever truly mutual, or was it one-sided the whole time? The internet definitely had a lot to say about it too, and opinions are split right down the middle. On one side, people are giving Fuzzy Fasu credit for staying calm and not making a bad situation worse, because trying to act fearless in a moment like that can end badly. But on the other side, a lot of people can't ignore what his crew did, or better said, what they didn't do. And that part of the story is what's really keeping the conversation going. The internet didn't hold back at all. The memes have been ruthless, spreading everywhere, and the speculation hasn't slowed down for a second. People keep throwing around theories about it being a setup or some kind of inside job. But as of now, there's no real evidence backing any of that up. And the bigger conversation this sparked goes way beyond just one situation. It's raising a serious question. Are rappers ever truly safe when they go back to the same neighborhoods that built their name? Fetty Wap understood that risk better than most. He was already talking about it early in his career, back when the fame was still fresh and everything was starting to change around him. He knew what that spotlight meant in a place like Patterson and how fast things could shift. There was even a moment where he started speaking on it and couldn't finish his thought without things turning serious. That was back in 2015. At a time when he had one of the biggest songs in the country, his voice everywhere, fans shouting his name nonstop, and still, none of that changed where he came from. Because at the end of the day, success doesn't rewrite the streets. The money, the fame, the recognition, it doesn't automatically make things safer where you started. And as of April 3rd, 2026, this latest situation is still wide open. No suspects have been publicly identified, no arrests have been confirmed, and there haven't been any official statements released from police, Fetty Wap, or Fuzzy Fasu. That silence, it's only making people talk even more. The phrase New Jersey Goons that's been all over headlines isn't actually tied to any real gang or organized group. It's just street slang, a viral label people started using online to describe the masked individuals behind this robbery. And the truth is, nobody really knows who they are. No names, no clear identities, and no answers on whether they'll ever be caught. The silence coming from Fuzzy's side lines up with a mindset that's been around for a long time. It's that same code people point to, moving quiet and not putting everything out in the open. Similar to how Fetty handled things back in 2017 when his own chain was taken, that approach speaks to a bigger pattern, letting situations play out without public statements or involvement, at least on the surface. But more than anything, this footage reminded people of something that's been said for years. It brought the focus right back to a hard truth that keeps showing up again and again. These streets don't play fair with anyone, and situations can turn serious when you least expect it. It wasn't fair back in 2015 when people from his own block told him to stay away just to stay alive. It wasn't fair in 2017 when his chain got taken in that deli and multiple people ended up injured. And it's still not fair now in 2026 when someone who had been around since before the fame lost everything in broad daylight while the people next to him ran off like it was nothing. Fetty Wap came home in January looking like a different person. New mindset, new focus, and what seemed like a real chance to change how his story plays out. He talked about controlling his temper, letting go of ego and not letting pride hold him back anymore. He spoke on getting back to the music, getting in the studio, and creating something real, something that actually lasts instead of getting caught up in everything else around him. And for a moment, it really felt like things might finally shift, like maybe this story could move forward without violence, without chaos, without everything that kept pulling it backwards. But then this happens, and it sends a message loud and clear. No matter how much time passes, no matter how far you think you've moved on, some environments don't change that easily. The chain taken in 2017 and the chains taken in 2026. Different moments, same kind of story playing out again. Different years, different faces, but the pattern still looks way too familiar. And that's what really has people paying attention now. It's not just about one moment or one situation. It's about a cycle that keeps repeating itself no matter who's involved. Because when you really look at it, it raises a bigger question nobody can ignore. How do you move forward when the same environment that built you is the same one that keeps pulling you back in? For Fetty Wap, that question has followed him through every phase of his journey. From early success, to setbacks, to growth, and now trying to step into a new chapter with a clearer mindset. And for the people watching all of this unfold, it hits on a deeper level too. Because it's not just about music or fame, it's about loyalty, survival, and the reality of what comes with staying connected to certain places and people. At the end of the day, situations like this don't just disappear. They leave a mark. And whether people want to admit it or not, every new incident adds another layer to a story that's still being written in real time. And now all eyes are on what happens next. Because this isn't just about what already went down. It's about how things move from here on out. Does this push people to move smarter and stay out of certain environments? Or does it just become another moment that fades while the same patterns keep repeating? For Fetty, this next chapter matters more than ever. He's already shown signs of growth, discipline, and a different mindset, but the real test is maintaining that when everything around him stays unpredictable. And the people around him, that matters too, because situations like this always reveal who's really solid and who's not built for pressure when it hits out of nowhere. At the same time, the streets are still the streets. No matter how much success someone reaches, certain risks don't just disappear overnight. So now the conversation keeps going. People are watching closely, waiting to see if this story finally takes a different direction, or if it ends up circling back to the same situations all over again. Those aren't just chains or jewelry pieces. They represent everything these guys built together. Every risk they took, every moment they put on the line, all of it gone in seconds, caught on grainy footage for the whole world to see. And that's the real question this viral clip is putting out there for everyone to think about. Because when it all comes down to it, there's one thing nobody around Fetty Wap seems ready to really speak on right now. If the people standing next to you are quick to run, the second things get serious. Then who are you really doing all of this for? That question hits hard, and it's not going away anytime soon. If you made it this far, make sure you hit subscribe, drop a like, and share this video. It really helps the channel grow and keeps content like this coming. Also, leave a comment and let people know what you think about this whole situation.